Hey everyone, the Potrat here.
Just want to briefly talk about the process of this drawing.
Right off the bat, because of the relative complexity of the composition, it's not just a portrait. The guideline is especially helpful in this case. And one important point is that while I focused on this in my Patreon tutorial, I don't think I have ever mentioned this here, is that we are in general as humans, we're really terrible at judging, mimicking, and drawing curves. We generally over-exaggerate curvature and you end up with something not as accurate. But the one thing we are pretty good at is drawing straight lines. And as you can see, I did a lot of that in the beginning of this drawing. There is a combination of both, of course, but even some of the places where you think I'm drawing a curve is really just a few straight lines at different angles. At this point it is pretty abstract, but hopefully you can already feel that, okay, this is a girl, she's looking to the side and she has her hand up holding something. And you can only get a decent feeling from those lines if my overall structure is, not totally terrible. And if this stage goes okay, for this piece I went straight to the large area shading where all I'm concerned about is whether the tone values are roughly correct. No details, but area by area I want to make sure the tone values are good enough. For the head, I always try to make sure the structure and the eye sockets, nose, etc. is at least start to convey their form and the proportions make sense, and of course it helps me to further judge if this is going towards a direction that I can work with. Once I'm pretty confident the large structure is okay and that the features are not too off. For the sake of YouTube videos, especially where you want to show the eyes fairly soon because it attracts attention, I switched my pressure and started working on the features with dark tones. In this drawing, I did one eye and one eyebrow first, so that I can really just use that as a reference to draw the other eye, making sure the eyebrow are kind of level. Remember that the head is still slightly tilted, so it's at a little bit of an angle, but still they should be relatively level in relation to the head. And from there I can then use those eyes as reference to refine and position the nose and then the mouth and so on. The shape of the face is one of those things that is important but relatively easier to adjust, as in like the width and the shape of the chin and so on. You can move the cheek inward a little bit or outward a little bit with charcoal and eraser, something that you cannot do if you place an eye at the wrong position. The shade on the left cheek, from our point of view, is important because it effectively tells the viewer this is a different plane facing a different direction with a slightly curvature. This is not something in realism that you can describe two-dimensionally. You need to use tone value, the correct amount of tone value at the correct place to describe that 3D like Z dimension, almost like which part is coming towards you, is higher or lower, which part is closer to you as a viewer, and which is further and so on. And it gets more complicated when there's the gradient involved and you want to convey a particular curvature of the face, and that's where gradient control comes in. The rest of the drawing is just me refining the places I do want to refine, such as the face, where I put the most amount of care and attention to details. And other areas of the drawing are mostly there to support this. The finger and the glass she's holding is important, but I kind of run out of patience to keep refining it. And it's like a second place in terms of its refinement compared to the face, which is fine. And I don't want that part to be so refined that it takes attention away from the girl. I feel like the background could be a bit darker to push the figure, the hair, and the face forward even more and have that contrast to be even more apparent, and it might produce a better result. And overall, I'm pretty okay with this drawing, and I hope you enjoyed my, little commentary. Remember in the beginning, and of course this does not apply to everyone and every style, but a lot of cases, an artist want to make everything very realistic, same level of detail everywhere. While this works for certain styles like hyperrealism, most cases, you are missing the opportunity that, as an artist, you can choose which part of your drawing is the main element and which part are the supporting elements. And you will not give them the same treatment. Giving them the same treatment devalues the main elements. Artists use all different kinds of methods to achieve some kind of attention control, whether it is by composition, contrast of value, color, detail, and so on. There's just so many ways to do it. In this case, I hope when you look at the drawing, you are always drawn to her face first, especially her eyes, right? And the next is probably her posture and the glass. And everything else is there to support those two elements and create that environment and mood. Thank you guys for watching, and if you'd like to see more contents like this, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. I do these videos with whatever time I can squeeze out because this type of contents comparatively is not super valued or rewarded on YouTube these days. At the end of the day, thank you guys so much for watching. And and I have a gaming channel. Sometimes my allergy gets really bad and I do spend a lot of time playing games to relax. And I love horror games, but the last game I played is Layers of Fear 1, where your character is an artist gone mad, and I spend more time talking about the paintings than playing the game. This one is not by Rembrandt. This one, Goya. I believe it's Goya. Francisco Goya. Wow, all these are real paintings. Anyway, check it out if you're interested. Link is in the description. And I'll talk to you next time. Cheers! They actually have the bone anatomy and everything correct.